Hello my beautiful creative souls, and welcome back for today's video. Today I wanted to share with you an exercise that you can do to bond with your deck, whether it's tarot or oracle, whether it's new or old. That also serves as kind of a personal development exercise, and it's just downright fun. And while I was showing you that, I figured I would also double this as a look, walkthrough / review for the Alice in Wonderland Oracle. A little bit of backstory on this. I actually have had the app version of this Oracle deck on my phone all year and have heavily used it, and have since recently required the physical copy because I loved it so much. Using app oracles isn't something I usually do, but somehow I ended up with like some credits for my app store on my phone, and I just decided to use them for that because I'm not really a big app person. So my review portion will be from, you know, a place of having worked with this deck quite a bit. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely keep watching. I'll try to section out the video so that if you're only interested in the exercise versus the walkthrough versus the review, you can skip ahead to the respective parts. And otherwise, let's just dive into it. This is the Alice in Wonderland Oracle by Lucy Cavendish with artwork by Jasmine, Becket, Griffith. And this is a really great little deck. I liken the energy of this deck, in my experience, as a softer version of the Les Vampires Oracle, which is another deck by the same people, so by Lucy Cavendish with artwork by Jasmine, Becket, Griffith. This deck is very like, hits super hard and tells you the deep dark mysteries of your soul that you don't want to face. This oracle, however, the Alice in Wonderland Oracle, it doesn't have to be that heavy hitter. I feel like you can use this oracle for regular card pulls as well, but if you're using it, it will kind of call you out on your stuff, really kind of bring to the surface the underlying issues. But it does it in a nice way that doesn't make you feel like you want to run for the hills or throw it across the room, as sometimes the Les Vampires Oracle does. So I want to take you through this. This is a Blue Angel deck, so it comes in a very nice box with a very nice, you know, guidebook and good card stock. I'm actually going to reorder these for you, so give me just a second. So we're back in order here. This deck, like I said, is really great quality, nice matte thick cardstock. I do actually prefer the older cardstock of Blue Angel. That was a lot more like flimsy and flexible and plasticky, but all in all, it is a nice quality cardstock. And I don't find that the production quality or anything hinders my experience with the deck, which is really my main concern when it comes to qualities of decks. I mean, past, you know, feeling like you got the quality you paid for, but I'm happy to use a deck that's not great quality as long as the deck itself works for me functionally and I have a connection with it and it reads beautifully. Very rarely does a deck's production quality have any effect on my actual like working relationship with the deck. So I'm going to flip through the cards here as I kind of tell you about the deck itself, how it works. Like I said, this is an amazing deck for not only regular readings, but more specifically, like if you want to do any type of shadow work, and you don't want something to like really hit you hard, you want to like explore the truth from like a removed sense of a story, I feel like this is a great deck. I love that there are so many like keywords on the actual cards. Or phrases. So this one, for example, seems to be a favorite of a lot of people I've watched who like this deck. Do not drink the poison is the name of the card, but it says do not do things you know are bad for you, which is just great. Versus this one that says curiouser and curiouser, discovery, inquiry, weirdness, and curiosity, which I love because it gives you multiple like keywords. It doesn't really pigeonhole the meaning of the card, which I really appreciate. The colors are stunning. The images are very cute. I find that the keywords and the way that the deck approaches concepts, especially ones that are sensitive in nature, again speaking to that shadow work-esque personality of the deck. It really does hold its own perspective and energy, which is very fun to explore through the lens of this Alice in Wonderland theme. And the guidebook actually has like little passages and clips from the particular Alice in Wonderland book within it, along with the deck's message, which I find very helpful. I'll look at a guidebook meaning later on. The only thing that I find really distracting from this deck is the fact that none of the images are, well, not none, but some of the images don't take up the whole space. Like, oh, I love this. It's so beautiful. And then you flick to one like this where it's all like cropped. I do appreciate that they take the time to do some type of background, very faint, that kind of matches with the card theme. So you don't totally feel like it's just a cropped out photo, but sometimes it does feel a little jarring, especially when you get a reading and they're together like this. But if you just pull this card, it doesn't seem to really have an effect. Again, that's all like, you know, can be nitpicky, aggravating production things, but overall, like, it doesn't hinder at all the functionality, in my opinion, of the deck. This is one of the cards I really enjoy. Never jam today, promises that never come to be, empty words, and not living in the now. Like, it's just such a phrase that brings up a concept deeper than just the key words that I don't find very often in a deck. So really, really enjoy this deck. I think there's a well-rounded amount of messages. Again, the guidebook is laid out very well. And it really helps you get to the heart of things, but in a nice kind of, in a nice way, not a let me slap you in the face kind of way. I'm not a huge fan of the backs, but that's just a personal thing. So that is the Alice in Wonderland Oracle flip through. I don't know why I shuffled it, but that always just feels right. So let's talk about the bonding with your deck exercise, and then I'll pull a card for us so we can explore the guidebook a little more. Just because that feels like the right order to do that in. So moving into the deck bonding exercise, again, you could do this with Oracle, you could do this with Tarot, you can do it with a deck you just acquired, you can do it with a deck that you've had for a long time. But it's a nice way to bond with the deck because it forces you to kind of look at all the images and really digest them, as well as, you know, a little bit of a self-development exercise. And it's just fun to like flick through the images. Sometimes I really just want to like pull out decks that I already have and look at the images because it gives me that sensation that I'm looking for when I get a new deck, right? Part of the excitement, or most of the excitement from getting a new deck, besides like, you know, working with the new guidebook and the new images and things, is really just being able to like flick through and see things in a new way, like see the images. And I feel like we can really recreate that experience for ourselves if we just do it with decks that we already have in our collection that we might not have used in a while. So the exercise is you're going to go through each card and you're going to sort them into 3 piles. So one is cards you love, one is cards you really dislike, and one is cards you're indifferent to. And then once you have your piles, we're going to go through and pick one of the cards you love and one of the cards you dislike. And each of those cards is going to tell us something. So I'm going to try to go through kind of rapid fire here, just looking at the images themselves and deciding whether or not I love it, I dislike it, or I'm indifferent to it. And this can change too, you know, depending on the day. So don't get too caught up, you know, in what your specific answer is. Just go with your first gut reaction. It's hard because I like love them all. Okay, so we're going to take the Indifferent pile and set it aside. I'm going to go through the cards that I'm really disliking at the moment because the pile is smaller. And again, not reading any of the keywords. We're just going to look at the images here. I'm going to pick out my least favorite from the bunch, and it's got to be that one. All right, so I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to move on to the ones that I'm really liking. This one is always harder to do, in my opinion, especially because we have, I have so many. So out of all the ones I've already laid down, this one stands out the most. So I'm going to set those aside and then look at it amongst the rest. I think it's down to these two. And I don't know if I could pick between those two, so I'm actually going to go ahead and save both. So let's bring back in our card that we disliked. So your card that you disliked the imagery of for the moment is your biggest lesson that you're learning right now. And your cards that you liked the look of, that were your most favorite, is your tools or your ways in which you can integrate that lesson more fully, work through that lesson more fully. It's kind of your strengths within that situation. So let's just get real raw and look at mine for the fun of it so you can see how we kind of interpret this. So card 29, my biggest lesson right now, ironically, is to find the lesson. Discover the purpose in a situation and trust that you are learning. And then as my strengths or my kind of positive messages here to help me with this, we have nature communication, flower energies, fairy energies, and elemental messengers, as well as messages for a rabbit, service to the animal world, which is so interesting because these are both very like, it's nature and animals, right? Versus the lesson of a situation. So a lot of the times when I'm focusing on the lesson from any particular situation, I'm very much in my head, right? I'm thinking about me, my role in the situation, what I might have, you know, done wrong, what I could do better, etc., etc. So my strength in moving through that is remembering that I am part of a larger natural world. And through communicating with nature and communing with animals, spending time with my dog Shadow, listening to the animal spirits and the nature spirits, I can more easily navigate these lessons, which to me right now feel very like mundane in my head, but they have a larger meaning to them. And it's through this communication with the natural world that I can then begin to see those larger themes. So that's the deck bonding exercise. Now, of course, it's likely that you would want to take a little more time with each of the images as you're doing it for yourself, but I didn't want this video to be 8,000 times long, especially since I had already flipped through the deck for you. So now that we have finished that, I'm actually going to read the guidebook for myself just to see what else those cards have to tell me later after I finished this video as medicine for myself. But I wanted to round out this reading with choosing a card and reading from the guidebook. So question to the Alice in Wonderland Oracle. What is, oh my goodness. What is something that someone who's considering whether this deck is a good fit for them or not, be kind of mulling around in their brain, keeping in mind, needing to know about you? What is that? Keeping up. Immense effort, advance. Don't drink the poison is on the bottom. So right off the bat, I would say the message is don't get this deck just because you see other people working with it, just because you feel like you're missing out, just because you feel like you should have it in your collection. Really consider this purchase from a standpoint of, is this deck speaking to you or is it just speaking to your FOMO? That was kind of, I feel like that's consideration for any deck, but I love that that came out. So I'm going to read the guidebook to you so that you can get a feel for that, because in my opinion, the guidebooks are super important, especially with oracle cards. To be honest, I have not really read the introduction yet, but it does look like we have a down the rabbit hole spread. That could be fun. Through the looking glass spread. I like when there's spreads that have to do with the particular deck. There's a Celtic Cross and the 3-card spread, typical. And there are a few introduction pages which I look forward to diving into. Usually I dive right into them, but because again I had this deck for a while as like the app version, reading the guidebook on it isn't as seamless. So, keeping up. Immense effort, advance. Well, in our country, said Alice, still painting a little, you'd generally get to somewhere else if you ran very fast for a long time, as we've been doing. A slow sort of country, said the Queen. Now here, you see, it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that. The lessons of your life are taking place at a fast rate, far too swiftly for you to process them. It seems you are only just keeping up with all the changes coming to you. You must work very hard to make discernible progress, for now. You have been trying and trying to get ahead, and yet you always seem to be in the very same place. This could be in almost any aspect of your life. Your finances, relationships, career, or success. At this point in time, the answer is to work even harder. You will not have to do this much work with this much effort, perhaps ever again. But the only way out of your current situation is to accelerate, get intense, and push for the breakthrough that is just ahead of you. You will need to devote more time than you wish, and sacrifices will need to be made. However, if you do this, you will push through the resistance and explode into the next stage of your life. Put all your effort into surging ahead and watch as you begin to move in the tiniest of ways, ahead of where you have been. Once you take that lead, stay focused on where you are going, and you will begin to leave the place you find yourself in now. When you push through, others will recognize the incredible dedication you have to your own life. This will inspire them to push forward with their own dreams too. One thing is for sure, the intensity of your approach brooks no resistance. Your movement and energy will drive away all stagnation. Now go. Divination meaning. A time of very hard work, getting ahead, determination and resolve to push through into the next stage, the urge to improve your status and be rewarded, moving quickly with strength and stamina, a great deal to process and integrate. Reversed meaning. Sluggish approaches will not be rewarded, feeling it is impossible to change the way things are, feeling entrapped by the effort required to change your current circumstances. So, I love this card. I feel like in this particular reading, and I actually haven't got this card yet as I've been working with this deck, so that was fun to read. I feel that this card is saying that if you do feel a resonant relationship with this deck and you've ruled out kind of that FOMO, everybody else is working with it, sensationalized kind of urge to purchase, or if you already have this deck, this would be a great time to pull it back out because you're in a time of great growth. And this deck is going to help really propel you to the next level. But it will require you to actually put in the effort, to put in the work, to begin to work with it and to integrate its medicine in order to propel yourself forward. But if you want to take the time to work with it, it has great medicine for you and can really push you forward along your path. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you enjoyed the review as well as the exercise to bond with your deck. I'd love to hear about your experience with this exercise if you try it below and what deck you used it with. I think that would be super fun. Also, if you have the Alice in Wonderland Oracle, let me know your experience with it. I always love to hear how experiences with different decks differ between person and person. But yeah, overall, an amazing deck. I definitely recommend it if it's calling to you. And I hope that the message from the guidebook resonated with you if that was something you were kind of on the fence about. So, with all that being said, I will see you guys again soon. Take care, guys.